I gave my two sons everything. I worked until my bones ached so they could eat well and sleep warm. I thought family meant forever. I thought blood protected you. But 8 years ago, they drove me to a dirty motel in the middle of the night and handed me $10 through a car window. Then they left me there in the dark, like I was nothing. I was 63 years old with nowhere to go, but I survived. And last month they came back begging at my gate. What I did next will shock you. Before that, tell me where you are watching from and subscribe so this story reaches more people. It was a Tuesday night. I remember because Tuesdays I always cooked chicken curry for dinner. My sons loved it when they were young. I thought maybe they still did. I made extra rice. I set the table nicely. I called them when food was ready. They came to the table. Their wives came too. Nobody said thank you. Nobody said it smells good. They just sat down and started eating. I sat at the corner of the table like always. The spot nobody wanted. I was used to it by then. My eldest son's wife made a comment. She said the chicken is too oily. She said it upsets her stomach. My eldest son agreed. He said I should learn to cook properly. I said nothing. I just kept eating. After dinner, I cleaned all the plates. I washed everything by hand. My back hurt, but I did it anyway. Then I went to my small room at the back of the house. The room they gave me after they took over the master bedroom. The room that used to be storage. Around 10 at night, my eldest son knocked on my door. He said, "We need to talk. Come outside." I got up. I followed him. My younger son was standing in the hallway. Both their wives were there too. Everyone looked serious. My eldest son said, "Sit down." I sat on the sofa I bought 20 years ago. He stood in front of me with his arms crossed. He said, "We have been talking. We cannot do this anymore." I asked, "What do you mean?" He said, "You living here. It is too much. You are too old. You move too slow. You make noise at night. You eat our food. You take up space." I could not believe what I was hearing. I said, "This is my house. I built this house. I paid for everything in it." He laughed. He said that was a long time ago. Things change. The house is in his name now. I transferred it to him 5 years ago because he said it would help with taxes. He said legally, it is his house. I have no claim. I looked at my younger son. I thought maybe he would defend me. He looked at the floor. He said nothing. His wife looked at her phone. Nobody was on my side. My eldest son said, "We already decided. You have to leave tonight." I said, "Where will I go?" He said, "That is not our problem. You are a grown man. Figure it out." I said, "I have no money. I have no pension. I gave everything to you both." He said, "That was your choice. Nobody forced you." I started shaking. I said, "Please do not do this. I am your father." He said, "Being a father does not give you the right to be a burden." His wife nodded. She said they have their own family to think about now, their own children. They cannot afford to take care of an old man too. I begged. I said I will stay quiet. I will eat less. I will stay in my room. I will not bother anyone. My eldest son shook his head. He said the decision is final. Pack your things. We are leaving in 10 minutes. I went to my room. My hands were shaking so much I could barely fold my clothes. I put a few shirts in a bag, some pants, my medicine. My younger son came to the door. He watched me pack. I thought he came to help. Instead he said, "Hurry up. We do not have all night." We got in the car. I sat in the back seat between both wives. Nobody spoke. The car was completely silent. We drove for over an hour. I did not know where we were going. I was too scared to ask. Finally, we stopped at a roadside motel. Old paint, broken sign, middle of nowhere. My eldest son kept the engine running. My younger son turned around and handed me a $10 bill. He said this should be enough. Then he told me to get out. I got out of the car holding that money. I stood in the parking lot. My eldest son rolled down the window just enough to say, "Do not contact us." Then he drove away. I watched the car disappear into the darkness, and I stood there alone holding $10 wondering how my life became this. I stood in that parking lot for a very long time. My legs would not move. My mind was blank. I just kept staring at the road where their car disappeared. I thought maybe they would come back. Maybe they would realize what they did and turn around. But nobody came back. Finally, I walked to the motel office. There was a man behind the desk watching television. He looked at me. He saw an old man with one small bag and $10 in his hand. He asked what I needed. I said 1 room for 1 night. He said rooms are $15. I only had 10. I begged him. I said, please, I have nowhere else to go. I will leave early in the morning. I just need a place to sleep tonight. He stared at me for a long time. Then he took my $10 and gave me a key. He said 1 night only. Be out by 8 in the morning. I went to the room. It smelled like cigarettes and dampness. The bed had stains on it. The floor was dirty. There was no television, no hot water, just 4 walls and a bed. I sat on that bed and looked around. This is what my life became. After 40 years of hard work, after raising 2 sons, after sacrificing everything, I ended up in a dirty motel room with $0 left. I did not sleep that night. I just sat there thinking. I thought about every sacrifice I made. Every time I went hungry so my sons could eat. Every time I wore torn shoes so they could have new ones. Every birthday I missed because I was working double shifts. Every dream I buried so they could chase theirs. And this is how they repaid me. They threw me away like garbage, like I was nothing, like those 40 years meant nothing. The sun came up. I had to leave. I had no money for another night. I had no money for food. I had nothing. I walked out of that motel at 7 in the morning with my small bag and started walking. I did not know where I was going. I just walked. I walked along the highway for hours. Cars passed me. Trucks honked. Nobody stopped. My feet started hurting. My back was killing me. But I kept walking. What else could I do? By afternoon, I reached a small town. I was so thirsty. I had not drunk water since last night. I found a public tap near a temple. I drank until my stomach hurt. Then I sat on the temple steps trying to figure out what to do next. An old woman sitting nearby asked if I was okay. I said I am looking for work. She laughed. She said, at your age, who will give you work? But she told me about a tea shop down the road. She said the owner is a good man. Maybe he needs help. I went to the tea shop. The owner was a middle-aged man. I told him I need any kind of work. Cleaning, washing dishes, anything. He looked at me. He asked where I came from. I told him the truth. I said my sons left me with nothing. I need to survive. He felt sorry for me. He said he cannot hire me full-time, but I can wash dishes in the evening rush. He will pay me $50 a week. It was almost nothing, but I said yes immediately. I had no choice. He let me sleep in the small storage room behind his shop. There was no bed, just some empty rice sacks on the floor. I used those as a mattress. It was uncomfortable, but it was shelter. It was better than the street. I started working that same evening. I washed dishes for 4 hours straight. My hands were raw. My back screamed in pain. I had not done physical labor in years. My body was not ready. But I pushed through. That night, I slept on those rice sacks. My whole body hurt. I had not eaten anything all day except 1 cup of tea the shop owner gave me out of pity. My stomach was empty. My heart was broken. But I was still breathing. I survived day 1. I told myself, I just need to survive 1 day at a time. Do not think about tomorrow. Do not think about next week. Just survive today. That became my only goal. I worked at that tea shop for 3 months. Every evening I washed dishes for 4 hours. My hands became rough and cracked. My fingers bled sometimes from the hot water and soap. But I never complained. I needed that $50 a week to survive. During the day, I looked for more work. I walked around the town asking at every shop, every factory, every office. Most people said no immediately. Too old, too weak, no experience in their business. Some people laughed at me. An old man begging for work. It was humiliating, but I had no pride left to protect. After 2 weeks, I found a second job. A small factory needed someone to watch the gate at night. Just sit there and make sure nobody steals anything. The pay was $70 a week. I took it immediately. So now I worked 2 jobs. I washed dishes from 6 in the evening until 10 at night. Then I walked to the factory and sat at the gate from 11 at night until 6 in the morning. Then I slept for a few hours on my rice sacks. Then I woke up and did it all again. I was 63 years old working 19 hours a day. My body was breaking down. My knees hurt constantly. My back felt like it was on fire. I had chest pains sometimes. I knew I needed my heart medicine, but I had no money for it. I just ignored the pain and kept working. I ate one meal a day, plain rice with a little dal, the cheapest food I could find. Sometimes I skipped eating completely to save money. I lost a lot of weight. My clothes hung loose on my body. People started looking at me with pity. But I did not care. I was saving money. Every dollar I did not spend was a dollar saved. After 3 months, I had saved enough to rent a tiny room. Just one room with a shared toilet down the hall. No window, no kitchen. But it was mine. I paid the rent and felt proud. I had a place now. Not much, but it was better than rice sacks. I kept working my 2 jobs. I kept saving. After 6 months, the factory owner noticed me. He saw I was always on time, always alert, never sleeping on duty. He started talking to me during his night inspections. One night, he asked about my background. I told him about my past. Before my sons threw me away, I worked in manufacturing management for 30 years. I knew supply chains. I knew logistics. I knew how to run operations efficiently. He was surprised. He said, "Why are you working as a security guard?" I said, "Because nobody else would hire me." He thought for a moment. Then he said he needed help organizing his factory operations. His system was messy. His costs were too high. He asked if I could consult for him part-time. I said yes immediately. He offered me $200 a week for 10 hours of consulting work. It was more than my 2 jobs combined. I could not believe it. Finally, someone saw my value. Finally, my experience mattered. I started the consulting work. I analyzed his factory operations. I found so many problems: waste in production, bad scheduling, poor inventory management. I gave him a full report with solutions. He implemented everything I suggested. Within 2 months, his costs dropped by 30%. His production speed increased. He was making much more profit. He was so happy he doubled my consulting fee. Now I was making $400 a week just from consulting. I quit my dishwashing job. I quit my security job. I focused only on consulting. The factory owner introduced me to other business owners. They all had problems. They all needed help. Suddenly, I had multiple clients. Within 1 year, I was making more money than I ever made in my life. I moved to a better apartment. 2 rooms, my own bathroom, my own kitchen. I bought a bed. A real bed. The first time I slept on it, I almost cried. I kept working hard. I saved most of my money. I lived simply. No luxuries, just basic food and rent. Everything else went into savings. I was building something. I did not know what yet, but I was building. After 2 years of consulting, I had saved a good amount of money. One of my clients wanted to expand his business, but he needed a partner, someone with experience and capital. He offered me a partnership. I would put in money and manage operations. He would handle sales and marketing. I thought about it carefully. This was a risk. If the business failed, I would lose everything I saved. But if I did nothing, I would just stay a consultant forever. I was 65 years old. I did not have forever. I needed to take this chance. I used all my savings and became a partner. We started small. 1 warehouse, 5 employees. We worked day and night. I handled everything: inventory, logistics, quality control, hiring. I used everything I learned in 30 years to make this business run perfectly. Within 6 months, we were profitable. Within 1 year, we opened a second location. My partner was amazed. He said he never saw anyone work like me. I told him, when you lose everything once, you never want to lose again. That fear keeps you sharp. The business kept growing. We opened a 3rd location, then a 4th. My share of the profits grew every month. I was making serious money now, more than I ever imagined. But I still lived in my small 2-room apartment. I still ate simple food. I still saved everything. People asked me why I lived like a poor man when I was becoming rich. I never answered honestly. The truth was, I was afraid. Afraid it would all disappear. Afraid I would end up in another motel with nothing. So I held on to every dollar like my life depended on it. After 3 years, my partner wanted to retire. He was older than me and tired. He offered to sell me his share of the business. I bought him out. Now the entire business was mine. I owned everything. I hired good managers. I trained them well. I expanded into 3 more cities. The business became bigger than I ever dreamed. I was 68 years old and running a company worth millions. I finally sold the business. A large company wanted to buy it. They offered me so much money I had to sit down when I heard the number. I accepted. Just like that, I became a wealthy man. Not comfortable, not secure. Wealthy. I could have retired then, lived peacefully, traveled, enjoyed my old age. But something inside me was not satisfied. I kept thinking about my sons. About that night they left me at the motel. About how they said I was worthless, a burden, nothing. I wanted to prove them wrong. Not just survive. Not just be comfortable. I wanted to become someone they could never ignore. Someone they would regret throwing away. So I invested my money in real estate. I bought rental properties. I renovated them and rented them out. The rental income was steady and good. I bought more properties. The income grew. Then I found a piece of land outside the city. 5 acres on a hill. Beautiful view. Quiet location. Private road. I bought it immediately, and I decided to build my house there. Not just a house. A mansion. I hired architects. I hired the best builders. I designed everything myself. I wanted high walls, iron gates, marble floors, a big garden, a fountain, multiple bedrooms, a huge kitchen. Everything my sons said I did not deserve. It took 2 years to build. I watched it go up brick by brick. Every wall that went up felt like victory. Every room that was finished felt like proof. Proof that I was not worthless. Proof that I could build something great. When it was finished, I stood outside those iron gates and looked at what I created. My mansion, my palace. Built from $10 and humiliation and the will to survive. I moved in. I hired staff. A housekeeper, a cook, a driver, a gardener, a security guard. People who worked for me and respected me. People who called me sir and meant it. I was 71 years old. I woke up every morning in my mansion. I drank tea on my terrace looking at my land, my garden, my fountain, everything I owned, everything I built. And every morning I thought about my sons and wondered if they ever thought about me. It was a normal Saturday morning. I was sitting on my terrace having breakfast, scrambled eggs, toast, fresh orange juice. The sun was warm. The garden looked beautiful. I was reading the newspaper like I did every morning. My housekeeper came upstairs. She looked worried. She said, "Sir, there are people at the front gate. They say they are your family. They want to see you." I stopped reading. I put my newspaper down slowly. I asked who exactly. She said 2 men, 2 women, and 4 children. They are saying they are your sons and grandchildren. My heart started pounding. I had not seen my sons in 8 years. I had not heard from them once. Not a phone call, not a letter, nothing. And now suddenly they were at my gate. I stood up. My legs felt shaky. I walked downstairs to the security room. There was a monitor showing the camera at the front gate. I looked at the screen. There they were, my eldest son, my younger son, their wives, and children I had never met, my grandchildren, standing outside my iron gates looking up at the camera. They looked different, older, tired. Their clothes were clean but cheap, not the expensive brands they used to wear. My eldest son looked thin, his face looked stressed. My younger son kept looking around nervously. I stood there staring at that screen. I did not move. I just watched them. They started talking to each other, pointing at the mansion, looking confused. They did not expect this. They thought I was dead or homeless somewhere, not living in a mansion. My housekeeper asked, "What should I do, sir? Should I send them away?" I wanted to say yes. I wanted to leave them standing there in the heat, make them wait, make them suffer like they made me suffer, but I did not. I pressed the button. The gates opened slowly. I watched them on the monitor as they walked through. They walked up the long driveway, looking at everything, the fountain, the gardens, the cars parked outside. Their mouths were open. They could not believe what they were seeing. I went to the living room. I sat down on my sofa. I told my housekeeper to bring them inside. My heart was beating so fast. I did not know what I was feeling. Anger, sadness, curiosity, everything mixed together. I heard the front door open. I heard footsteps. Then they walked into my living room, all of them. They stood there looking around, looking at the chandelier, the paintings on the walls, the expensive furniture, the marble floor. Then they looked at me. I looked back at them. Nobody spoke for a long time. The silence was heavy, uncomfortable. Finally, my eldest son said, "Papa." Just that one word. His voice cracked when he said it. I did not respond. I just stared at him. The same man who handed me $10 and drove away 8 years ago. Now standing in my house calling me Papa like nothing happened. He cleared his throat. He said, "Papa, we have been looking for you. We did not know where you were. Someone told us about an old man who built a mansion outside the city. We thought maybe it was you. We had to come check." I still said nothing. I let him talk, let him fill the silence with his words. He said, "Papa, we made a mistake. What we did 8 years ago was wrong. We were young and stupid. We did not understand. We are sorry. Please forgive us." His wife looked down at the floor. My younger son nodded. He said, "Yes, Papa, we are very sorry. We regret what we did." I leaned back in my chair. I looked at both of them, their faces, their eyes, looking for guilt, looking for real regret. I saw fear instead. They were afraid. Then my eldest son said the real reason they came. He said, "Papa, we are in serious trouble. We need your help. We have nowhere else to go." And just like that, I understood. They did not come to apologize. They came because they needed something. They came because they were desperate, just like I was desperate 8 years ago when they left me at that motel. My eldest son sat down without asking. His wife sat next to him. My younger son and his wife sat on the other sofa. The children stood behind their parents, looking scared and confused. My eldest son took a deep breath. He said, "Papa, my business failed. I had a construction company. I took big loans to expand. The projects failed. The clients did not pay. Now I owe the bank $200,000. They are going to take my house, take everything." He looked down at his hands. He said, "I also borrowed money from private lenders. Dangerous people. They are threatening me. They say if I do not pay soon, they will hurt my family. I am scared, Papa. I do not know what to do." My younger son spoke next. He said, "Papa, I lost my job 2 years ago. I tried to start my own business, an online store. I put all my savings into it. I took loans too. But it failed. Nobody bought anything. Now I owe $90,000. My family is being evicted from our apartment. We have nowhere to live." Both of them looked at me with desperate eyes. The same eyes I must have had 8 years ago when I begged them not to leave me. My eldest son said, "Papa, you are our only hope. We have no one else. Our friends turned their backs on us. The bank will not help. We need money. We need it urgently. Please, Papa. Please help us." I sat there listening to everything. I did not interrupt. I let them finish. I wanted to hear it all. Every detail of how their lives fell apart. When they finished talking, the room went quiet again. They waited for my response. Their eyes were fixed on me, hoping, begging. I finally spoke. I said, "How much do you need?" My eldest son said $200,000. My younger son said $90,000. Total, they needed almost $300,000. I nodded slowly. I said, "That is a lot of money." My eldest son said, "Yes, Papa, we know. But you have it. Look at this house. Look at everything you have. You can afford it. Please, Papa, we are your sons, your blood. You have to help us." I almost laughed. I said, "I have to help you. Where was that logic 8 years ago? When I begged you for help, when I had nothing, when I needed you. Did you help me then?" My younger son said, "Papa, that was different." I said, "How was it different? Explain it to me." He could not answer. He looked away. I said, 8 years ago, I had nothing. You left me at a motel with $10. I was old, sick, alone. I begged you not to leave me. You drove away anyway. Do you remember that?" My eldest son said, "Yes, Papa, we remember. We were wrong. We already said we are sorry." I said, "Sorry does not change what happened. Sorry does not erase those years. Do you know what I went through? Do you know how I survived?" They shook their heads. I stood up. I started telling them. I said I slept on rice sacks in a storage room. I washed dishes until my hands bled. I worked night shifts as a security guard. I ate one meal a day to save money. I had chest pains but no money for medicine. I thought I was going to die alone in that town. My eldest son's wife started crying quietly. My younger son looked sick. I said, but I did not die. I survived. I worked harder than I ever worked in my life. I built myself back up from nothing. From the $10 you gave me. I built all of this. I pointed around the room. I said, this mansion, this wealth, this life. I earned it without you. I did not need you then. I do not need you now. My eldest son stood up. He said, Papa, please, our children will suffer. Your grandchildren. They are innocent. They did nothing wrong. I looked at the children standing behind their parents. Small faces, scared eyes. They had no idea what was happening. No idea what their fathers did to me. And that was true. They were innocent. I looked at those children for a long time. 4 small faces staring at me. They did not know me. I was a stranger to them. Their parents never told them about me. Never brought them to visit. I missed their whole childhood because my sons erased me from their lives. But they were still my blood, my grandchildren, and they did nothing wrong. They were just born into this mess. I sat back down. I said to my sons, I will help. But not the way you think. My eldest son's face lit up with hope. He said, Thank you, Papa. Thank you so much. I held up my hand. I said, Let me finish. I said I will set up education funds for each of your children. Money for school, for college, for their future. The funds will be in their names only. You cannot touch that money. It is for them, and only them. My younger son said, Papa, that is good, but we need money now. For our debts, for our problems. I looked at him. I said, I know what you need, and I am telling you, I will not give it to you. The room went completely silent. My eldest son said, What? I said, you heard me. I will not give you any money for your debts. He stood up. His voice got louder. He said, Papa, we are your sons. We are drowning. We need help. You have so much money. Why will you not help us? I stood up too. I looked him straight in the eye. I said, because you do not deserve it. You threw me away when I needed help. Now I am doing the same to you. His wife started crying. She said, Please, sir, we have small children. Where will we go? What will we do? I said, that is not my problem. Those were your husband's exact words to me 8 years ago. That is not my problem. Remember. My younger son fell to his knees. He grabbed my feet. He said, Papa, please forgive us. We made a mistake. We were stupid and selfish. But please do not punish our families. Our children will suffer. I pulled my feet away. I said, your children will not suffer. I am giving them education money. They will be fine. But you will suffer. You will feel what I felt. You will know what it means to be abandoned by your own family. My eldest son's face turned red. He said, you are a cruel man. After everything we did for you growing up. We took care of you. We let you live in our house. I laughed, a bitter, angry laugh. I said, your house. That was my house. I built it. I paid for it. You took it from me. And you did nothing for me. I did everything for you. I raised you. I fed you. I educated you. I gave you everything I had. And you repaid me by throwing me away like garbage. He had no answer to that. He just stood there breathing hard. I walked to the door. I opened it. I said, this conversation is over. I want you all to leave now. My younger son was still on his knees. He said, Papa, please think about it. Give us one more chance. I said, I gave you chances. For 63 years, I gave you chances to be good sons. You failed every time. Now it is too late. My eldest son grabbed his wife's hand. He pulled her up. He said, fine. Keep your money. We do not need it. We do not need you. We will figure it out ourselves. I said, good. That is exactly what I had to do. Figure it out myself. Now you know how it feels. They walked toward the door. The children followed. My eldest son stopped at the doorway. He turned back. He said, "You will regret this. When we are gone and you are alone in this big house, you will regret pushing your family away." I said I have been alone for 8 years. I got used to it. You should too. They walked out. I followed them to the driveway. I watched them walk toward the gate. My younger son looked back once. His eyes were wet. I felt nothing. They walked down my driveway slowly. My eldest son had his arm around his wife. She was crying. My younger son carried his youngest child. The other children walked close to their mothers, looking confused and sad. I stood at my front door watching them. My housekeeper stood behind me. She did not say anything, but I could feel her looking at me, wondering if I made the right choice. The iron gates opened automatically as they approached. They walked through without looking back, except my younger son. He stopped just outside the gate. He turned around one last time. Our eyes met across the distance. I saw pain in his face, real pain, maybe regret, maybe shame. I did not care anymore. It was too late for feelings. He opened his mouth like he wanted to say something, but no words came out. Then his wife pulled his arm and they kept walking. The gates closed behind them with a loud clang. That sound felt final, like a chapter closing. I stood there even after they disappeared from view. I stood there thinking about everything that just happened. Part of me expected to feel satisfaction. Victory. They came begging and I sent them away empty-handed. I won. But I did not feel victorious. I felt tired. So tired. My housekeeper finally spoke. She said, "Sir, are you okay? Do you want some tea?" I nodded. She went to make tea. I walked back inside and sat on my sofa. The same sofa where my son sat just minutes ago begging for money. I thought about their faces, the desperation, the fear. I saw myself 8 years ago in their eyes, when I stood in that motel parking lot with $10, when I had nothing and no one. They were feeling that now, that helplessness, that terror of not knowing what comes next. Part of me felt glad. They deserved to feel it. They deserved to know what they put me through. But another part of me felt heavy. Those children, my grandchildren, they would suffer because of their father's debts. They might lose their homes, their stability. Their childhood would be marked by struggle and fear. I told myself I did the right thing. I set up education funds for them. They would have money for school, for college, for their future. That was more than enough. I did not owe their fathers anything. My housekeeper brought tea. She set it down on the table. She hesitated. Then she said, "Sir, can I say something?" I said yes. She said those children looked very scared, very sad. "I know your sons hurt you badly, but the children did nothing wrong." I said I know. "That is why I am paying for their education." She nodded. But she looked like she wanted to say more. I said, "What is it? Speak freely." She said, "Sir, I have worked for you for 3 years. I have seen you build this beautiful life. You are a good man, kind to your staff, fair, generous. But today I saw something else in your eyes. Anger, bitterness. I understand why. But sir, that anger will eat you from inside if you hold it forever." I wanted to argue with her. Tell her she did not understand. She did not know what my sons did to me. But I said nothing, because maybe she was right. She left me alone with my tea. I sat there in my big living room, in my mansion, surrounded by everything I built, everything I achieved. I should have felt proud, successful, happy. But I felt empty, hollow. I thought about my sons walking away, going back to their failing lives, their debts, their fear. I thought about my grandchildren growing up knowing their grandfather refused to help their fathers when they needed it most. What would they think of me? Would they understand? Or would they just see a rich old man who was too bitter to forgive? I finished my tea. I walked upstairs to my bedroom. I stood at the window looking out at my garden, my land, my empire built from $10 and pain. I won. I survived. I proved them wrong. So why did victory feel so lonely? That night, I could not sleep. I lay in my expensive bed staring at the ceiling. My mind kept replaying the day. Their faces, their voices, the children's scared eyes. I kept telling myself I did the right thing. They abandoned me. They deserved this. Justice was served. But my heart felt heavy like a stone in my chest. I got up at 3 in the morning. I went downstairs. I sat in my living room in the dark, the same room where everything happened earlier. I could still picture them sitting there, begging, crying. I thought about what my housekeeper said, about anger eating me from inside. Maybe she was right. I survived 8 years. I built an empire. I won. But what did I really win? I won money, property, respect from strangers. But I lost my family. My sons hated me now. My grandchildren would grow up thinking I was cruel. I would die alone in this mansion with nobody who truly loved me. Was that victory? Was that what I worked so hard for? I remembered something my own father told me when I was young. He said, "Son, no matter how much money you make, it means nothing if you have nobody to share it with. Family is everything. Protect it." But my sons did not protect me. They threw me away. So why should I protect them? I went back and forth in my mind all night. Part of me wanted to call them, tell them to come back, give them the money, save them, be the bigger person. But the other part remembered that parking lot, the $10, the humiliation, the pain, the years of struggle. Why should I forgive that? Why should they get away with what they did? By morning, I was exhausted. I had not slept at all. My housekeeper brought breakfast. She looked at me and knew I had a bad night. She did not ask questions. I spent the whole day thinking. I walked in my garden. I sat by the fountain. I looked at everything I built. And I asked myself what I really wanted. Did I want revenge? Did I want my sons to suffer like I suffered? Yes. Part of me wanted that badly. But did I want to be alone forever? Did I want my grandchildren to hate me? Did I want to die with all this money and nobody at my funeral who cared? No. I did not want that. The truth is, I am 71 years old. I do not have many years left. Maybe 10. Maybe 5. Maybe less. My heart is not strong. I know this. When I die, what will I leave behind? Money, property, a mansion, but no family, no love, no forgiveness, just bitterness and broken relationships. Is that the legacy I want? Is that how I want to be remembered? I thought about my grandchildren, innocent kids who did nothing wrong. They would remember today for the rest of their lives. The day their grandfather sent them away. The day he chose money over family. Maybe my sons deserved punishment. But did those children deserve to suffer? Did they deserve to grow up in poverty because I wanted revenge? I sat on my terrace as the sun set. The sky was orange and purple, beautiful, peaceful. And I made a decision. Tomorrow I will call my sons. I will help them. Not because they deserve it. Not because I forgive them completely. But because I do not want to become like them. Cold, heartless. I do not want anger to define the last years of my life. I will give them one chance. One final chance to be a real family. If they waste it, that is on them. But at least I will know I tried. I chose forgiveness over bitterness. I chose family over revenge. Maybe I am weak. Maybe I am stupid. Maybe they will hurt me again. But I am tired of being angry. Tired of being alone. Tired of winning battles but losing everything that matters. This is my story, my choice. And whatever happens next, I will face it knowing I did what my heart told me was right, not what my anger demanded. That has to count for something.